Hello, wonderful people. Sometimes it's the smallest things in life that can have the biggest impact on our futures. Take Terrell Wolfe and Joanna Marchand, for example. They were two people from opposite sides of the world brought together by a very simple act of kindness. It was just a normal day for 18-year-old Terrell Wolfe. He was going about his daily routine when he received an odd friend request on Facebook. For anyone who uses the social media site, you know that this happens to everyone occasionally. Often, it stirs wariness about some scams and spam. So, keeping that in mind, Terrell decided he would just delete the random request from the stranger and move on with his life. He didn't put much thought into it at the time, but little did he know that the same person would eventually come back to play a major role in his life. The seemingly random woman who sent the request was named Joanna Marchand, a resident of the Philippines. Terrell had neither been to the Philippines in his life, nor did he recognize the name Joanna Marchand. But there was something else that also caught Terrell's attention. After reviewing Joanna's Facebook profile, he noticed something odd. From the looks of it, Joanna had never been to the United States, and much less to Terrell's small town in Idaho. Terrell tried to put the odd occurrence out of his head, figuring that she either had the wrong person or she was indeed some kind of bot internet scammer. But for some reason, he just couldn't get the request out of his mind. It stayed with him for quite some time. Then he had eventually forgot it had happened at all. But just when everything was back to normal, something strange happened again. It was like deja vu. Terrell received another peculiar request on Facebook. Just why would this woman keep reaching out to him? Why was she so persistent, sending another message after all these years? After lots of thinking and consultation with friends and family, Terrell decided that he was indeed going to reach out to this mysterious Joanna woman and finally find out the full story from her. So, one day he mustered all the courage he could and messaged her back, taking the short and sweet route. "How do you know me?" But the message that he received back was far from what he expected. Instead of simply answering this short question, Joanna sent him another question, one that would stump Terrell and make him search deep into his past. Joanna asked Terrell if he knew of something called Samaritan's Purse. After he was thinking about it, Terrell recalled a time far back in his past when he was just a young boy of 7 years old. He remembered that he had been part of a program called Operation Christmas Child, an organization created by none other than the nonprofit called Samaritan's Purse. Every year, the organization would pack shoeboxes full of gifts for less fortunate children around the world for Christmas. The boxes included things like small toys, toiletries, and even school supplies. And Joanna had been the recipient of his Christmas shoebox gift all those years ago. Terrell was shocked. He couldn't believe that the recipient of his shoebox had actually remembered his name for so many years and had decided to reach out to him on Facebook now. But while Terrell was pleasantly surprised, other people very close to him, were very concerned and not all happy about what was going on. Those who were most worried and concerned for Terrell were undoubtedly his parents. They feared that Joanna was out for only one thing, to prey on innocent young Terrell. They figured out she would surely ask for money or something much worse. After much thought, they decided there was one way to make sure that Joanna was telling the truth, to test her. And that is exactly what Terrell did. The only test that Terrell could think of to ensure that this woman did indeed receive the gift box so many years ago was to ask her to verify the contents of the present. Unfortunately, Joanna didn't remember everything that was in the shoebox. She did, however, remember one very important detail, and that vital indicator would be a dead giveaway. She wrote that she had received a photo of a cute cowboy with a wooden background. Terrell knew this picture well and knew that it was the exact photo that he had placed inside of the shoebox many years ago. Terrell knew 100% that she was telling the truth about the whole thing, but soon the seemingly innocent Facebook connection would catapult to a whole nother level. Joanna did indeed thank Terrell for a nice Christmas gift, and for most people, that would be that, and then they would go on with their daily lives. But that wasn't Joanna's intention. She wanted to get to know this mystery man from the other side of the world. As time went by, the unlikely duo continued talking online. It even got to the point where they began speaking on a daily basis. They even found out that they had a lot in common with each other. Just like that, more than a year and a half had passed. The two felt like they knew each other very well. By that time, Terrell had graduated from high school and was planning his next steps for his future, and he had big plans. From early on in his correspondence with Joanna, Tyrell had started to save up money. He knew that one day the two of them were going to meet. So one day he sent her a message asking if he could come to the Philippines to visit. Joanna was ecstatic. Of course she wanted Tyrell to come visit her. The time finally came and Tyrell boarded a plane to the Philippines. It usually takes at least 14 hours to get from Idaho to the Philippines. But for Tyrell, it was more than worth it. When he finally landed, Joanna and her family all welcomed Tyrell into their home with open arms and kind gestures. Soon, a month had passed by and Tyrell was still in the Philippines with Joanna. Although neither wanted Tyrell to leave, the time for him to return home was growing closer, and so had Joanna and Tyrell. At that point, they were far closer than just friends. Separation from one another was very difficult. Neither Joanna nor Tyrell knew what they were going to do about the separation. It seemed that it would just be too difficult to maintain their relationship, but they promised to meet again. From the second that Tyrell returned to his small town in Idaho, he started saving up money again. Tyrell's second trip to visit Joanna was even better than the first. Their relationship deepened even further, and soon enough the two were falling in love with each other. By Tyrell's third trip to the Philippines, he had learned enough Tagalog, the native tongue of the Philippines, to speak to Joanna's father privately. In what seemed like an abrupt and out-of-the-blue request, Tyrell asked for Joanna's hand in marriage. Joanna's father graciously accepted Tyrell's request to marry his daughter. But not all of her family was as pleased with the idea as Joanna's father was. The person who had been the most hesitant about Tyrell and Joanna marrying was Joanna's own mother. For her, it felt like everything was moving just too quickly. She wanted the couple to slow things down and really get to know each other much better before jumping into marriage. Tyrell understood and respected her opinion, but he wasn't about to give up. He decided to bring in reinforcements. Tyrell felt it would help the situation if Joanna's family were able to meet someone from his family to help clear the air. So, Tyrell convinced his father that it would be a good idea for him to come to the Philippines and meet the family of the woman he loved. Tyrell's father eventually agreed to the request, understanding that his son was very intent on marrying Joanna and that he wanted to do it right. After meeting with Tyrell's father, Joanna's mother agreed to give her blessing for Tyrell and Joanna to marry. The couple was thrilled. It was like a dream come true. The wedding plans moved quickly, and the two ended up getting married in October 2014 in a simple wedding at Tyrell's parents' ranch. But what made it especially unique was what the couple asked from the guests in lieu of wedding gifts. The happy couple asked their guests to bring none other than shoeboxes, but not just any typical shoebox. They were asking for something very special. Tyrell and Joanna asked their wedding guests to bring shoeboxes full of small gifts to be donated to Operation Christmas Child, the same organization that eventually brought Tyrell and Joanna together. But they had made one additional special request of their guests. They were asked to place a very special note in their Christmas gift shoebox. On this note was the story of how Tyrell and Joanna met, eventually fell in love, and ended up marrying each other. Most would assume that they included the note to give underprivileged children a hopeful fantasy to aspire to, just like that of Tyrell and Joanna. But they actually put the notes in the shoebox in order to teach others what kind of good things can come out of helping others in need. Just 3 short years after getting married, the happy couple was expecting a new member of the family, a boy named Harlan June Wolf. Tyrell and Joanna have expressed their gratitude for every day that they've had together, and their pride in knowing that their story has spread around the world and inspired others to give to charity. 4 years after their wedding, the couple are still living out their happy lives in rural Idaho, traveling frequently. They will never forget how they met and the amazing story that followed. And to think it was all because of a shoebox and a photograph. It seems like their story really struck a chord with the public too. Christmas will always be a special time for the couple because the festival serves as a constant reminder of how lucky they were to find each other. Comments poured in on Joanna's social media accounts praising their story for how inspiring their love is, like straight out of a fairy tale. Many couldn't believe how one simple good deed by an Idaho boy could make so many waves in the world years later. Joanna often proclaims that her family is the greatest gift of her life, and even just a simple moment like cuddling up together makes every day brighter. It amazes her followers every day how one little shoebox resulted in this beautiful life and happy family. The smiles on their faces say it all. Joanna Wolf's posts just keep getting more exciting with time. We are truly inspired by this remarkable Christmas love story, and we wish Tyrell and Joanna a long and happy life together.